You were talking about presence and clarity. So, how do you add presence and clarity to the vocals without making them sound too harsh or sibilant?
That's a tricky one. Yeah, I don't. Obviously, you have to have a real clean mic. I mean, let's be realistic. The
Hmm.
SM7, even a 57 with like a cloud lifter going in a good interface, and if you have a good decent compression going in on an Apollo or whatever you're using, you can get some pretty good clean top end. But the thing is, we're getting further and further in better sounding rooms. So people are mixing and recording in not the greatest environments. And the top end is the first thing to have the problem in a bad room because it's the first thing you hear. It's early reflections, honkiness, that's overall vibe. If you're by glass or anything, it does come out. So I think maybe something like a soothe or something like that to kind of
Hmm.
soothe the top end,
Hmm.
and then decide if that's going to help. And if it does, then you can add something like an air EQ. I'm not a big fan of just like adding top end to vocals. There's a lot of people that do that. And I feel that that kind of sticks the vocal out away from the track. What I like to do is get the vocal nice, where I feel like it's really good, get the instruments nice, have everything going, and then globally lift the whole thing up. Because then you're lifting the hi-hat and the percussion and every other acoustic guitars that have high frequencies. You're all bringing all those up together, phase locked in one, EQ versus doing it
Hmm.
separately. And I'm talking just like slightly, but that's what we're talking about with top end. Usually you'd want to just use a better mic, but not everyone has that access.
Hmm. How and when do you use saturation or distortion on vocals?
I think that depends on the track. I mean, I everyone poo-poos decapitators still, but I still feel like that's one of the best inventions in history.
Hmm.
It's just such a unique sound still, and it sounds great, and it's really easy to kind of get some energy when you're not getting it. Got to be careful because it will get a little harsh, but I do feel like it does seem to help. It does seem to, you know, add a little more energy. But if the track is not calling for it, don't do it because the artist
Hmm.
will hear it and they'll be like, what did you do? Why does it sound broken?" But if it's something that sounds a little lo-fi or a rock track for sure, or a pop track that is explosive at a point, that's another thing you can automate. You can keep it very low for the verses and stuff, and then when the instruments start kicking in, usually if there's distortion guitars or distortion synths, anything that has aggressive sound, that's where that usually works well, the saturator. And that could be a saturator from like Pulsar Modular has some really cool saturators. Um, there's a lot. Klanghelm has some really inexpensive ones that are great. Obviously, Decapitator, stuff like that. Thermonic Culture is really cool. You just have to be cautious. So if you know that you're in a very energy aggressive track
Hmm.
that has that stuff, then you can bring it in a little bit. But if you just plop that on and it's a soothing track, it just sounds gimmicky and wrong, at least to my ear. And that's all you're thinking about. You're not listening to the song.
Hmm. And do you ever use that distortion in parallel?
Parallel's really tricky for me. I like parallel on drums, piano for sure. Sometimes vocals, depending on what it is. If I do parallel, I would use the mix knob on that device
Hmm.
because I've found that even with like delay compensation, there's still a phasey thing that happens because, distortion is all about the harmonics. So there could be some frequency that's not in time. Correct. And you will hear it when you kind of drag in that other channel. And sometimes that's okay. There's no rules to say you can't do it, but you just got to be really cautious of hearing stuff because you can start losing and putting like these weird pockets in your vocal that you didn't realize because you're doing a phase problematic parallel compression or parallel aggressive distortion.
And after that distortion, would you use something like soothe? So it's not I forgot the word. Or too harsh, I mean.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you got to be careful with Soothe. I know I've said I like it a lot. I
Hmm.
do, but I use it really sparingly. I know a lot of people put it on everything, including their stereo, and that's just like silly. They're just, it's like the trick with the de-essing. Like your mind hears the second you hear an essing issue, you put a de-esser on it and you turn it off, and that's all you ever hear ever again. With Soothe, it's similar. You know, that Clariphonic plugin back in the day was a big, huge hit.
Hmm.
And it was very similar. We're like instant gratification, but then you're just causing something you didn't really need. Soothe, like if you're adding distortion, fix it in the distortion box or fix it with the pre-EQ before it. If you know you're going to have like a bitey problem, fix it before it goes into it because you're just stacking. And there's nothing wrong with stacking a little bit, but like to add another step with Soothe, you're getting into like weird morphing and stuff as well, and you're losing a lot of impact that way. And vocal is really critical with impact for sure.
To watch the full video, click the link below and don't forget to subscribe.